Hello everyone, welcome back to the TJOmega channel for day 920 of the daily content streak, and today I thought let's check in on the Skybound Transformer comics because they've been really good, like surprisingly good. So yeah, typically with these I do it in 2-issue batches, which means we only really do this every couple months, and I usually give you some time to read it for yourself before we start talking about the current issue. If you haven't been reading this, please don't let me spoil it for you. Go read it for yourself. It is really good stuff. And for those who have read it, sit back and relax as we go through my opinions about the books. And I'm going to be hopping through points here and there. I'm just kind of weave around both issues, so yeah, don't expect anything linear, okay? And we're also going to try and keep it to as many visual examples that were from previews as possible. I'm going to use very little interior artwork from the actual books, just to, you know, out of respect for the book itself. Absolutely go read it. Okay, so let's get this one out of the way. If you just clicked on this video and you're not keeping up with the books and you just notice, like, okay, that's like one of the weirdest things I've ever seen for Optimus Prime. Yeah, so as a quick patch job, they apparently just had the arm of Megatron lying around. So it's just a quick little repair job. Optimus Prime had Megatron's arm grafted to him. That apparently is a thing you can do in this universe. It's weird. It's super weird to see Optimus Prime wielding the signature weapon of his worst enemy. Kind of awesome, but kind of weird too. And that's gonna continue. Yeah, with spoiling it a little bit, I think even the preview of issue 7 shows him wielding that arm still. So not sure when we're gonna see a fully read Optimus Prime again. Nevertheless, it's a trippy experience. So, what the overarching story between both of these issues is the mirrored histories of Sparkplug, or Sparky, as everyone calls him throughout these issues, and Optimus Prime himself. So, Sparky is an old war veteran. A lot of his issues we've seen leading up to this point, the alcoholism, etc., is PTSD, it's survivor's guilt. Throughout his life, we keep flashing back to moments in Sparky's life where he had to watch someone die. You know, a son, his fellow soldiers, etc. Always thinking like it should have been him. You know, and that's going to kind of mirror Optimus Prime's regret over how things have turned out, because he came here hoping for peace, and you know, and to end up like this is the last thing Optimus actually wanted. So he's in similar circumstances, and they kind of bond over how long their wars have gone on, where Sparky is still fighting his mentally, Optimus is still very much fighting his physically. So it does lead to a quick bond between them, and it's a very quick turnaround. Remember, Sparky was shooting at Optimus just a few issues ago, just due to, oh hey, big giant scary, you know. So it's very quick turnaround for the character, and that's something we kind of needed because we weren't going to have him for very long. So the climax of this 6-issue arc is Sparky sacrificing himself to rejuvenate Optimus Prime, which is going to lead to a very tense moment when Spike comes back into the story. So they're setting that up already. But also, man, the Matrix works very differently in this universe. So in this universe, it's not just something that can, you know, give you a spark. It's more taking on the aspects of what the Allspark could do in previous series, where it can bestow life. Like they, you know, I can't. Geez, I should have flipped back to remember. It was mentioned before in this book that Optimus shouldn't be using the Matrix to restore anyone's life. He did. He wasn't supposed to. Because like it could also draw from his own life to do that. So which basically means that the Matrix can manipulate life energy, and apparently makes no difference if that is a Cybertronian or an Earthling, because Sparky just walks into the Matrix and it power boosts enough to restore Optimus Prime to 100% capacity. Weird. Kind of weird, but okay. I mean, it is weird watching a human just walk into it like it's a giant fruit gusher, because it just kind of literally oozes into the core of the Matrix. But it's fascinating to me that it doesn't really have a distinction between Cybertronian or humanoid life. You know, life energy is life energy, and Sparky sacrificed his to rejuvenate Prime's. You know, Prime was... We had, like, the whole, like, Optimus's dying sequence complete with, like, pulling the Matrix out and dropping it. For a second, I honestly thought RC was going to pick it up. But no, we got a different look at the Matrix here. So that works a little bit differently than it used to. I'm actually interested to see where they go and what that actually does for stories in the future. Another storyline ongoing through both of these books was the relationship between Cliffjumper and Carly. So in a way, it does mirror Bumblebee and Spike from the original fiction. It's kind of interesting to see the secondary versions of those characters are now like the center stage in these books. Carly's dead set on just getting into the fight and trying to help out. She's acting a little bit Miko in these situations where she really doesn't care about her own personal safety. They killed her dad, so this is a revenge story now. And Cliffjumper has bonded with her enough to be for this, sneaks her into the final fight, and I wasn't sure she was actually going to get something out of it, but when Cliffjumper is in danger in this issue, she does get a good headshot in on Starscream, which is a nice little moment, and it does set up another moment that's going to shift the relationship between these two, where Cliffjumper's got Starscream dead to rights, gun to his head. He could just end this right now, and he doesn't. He's hit that point that old soldiers hit in these stories, where he knows he's just seen too much death, and he can't pull the trigger, which is rough, and it upset Carly and almost cost Carly her life because Starscream got back up. Of course he did. But also mentioned something about Cliffjumper's clan. So, there's clans in the backstory of this, and I kind of want to hear more about that. Is it like literally the ones who have like this body shape? So is like Bumblebee part of this clan? You know, and then we get into like the bumpers and the hubcaps and the bug bites and all of them. If that was a way of explaining all of the recolor Volkswagens, or you know, like basically the, you know, whatever derives from the G1 minibots, I would actually like to hear it. Kind of curious. But Starscream in this book continues what he has been doing. He shows that he is potentially the cruelest Starscream we have ever seen. And the cruelty extends to his fellow Decepticons. Not only is he abusive to Ravage here, when Soundwave just seems to want to really, like, revive his friend while they have the chance, but he's also the one behind the idea of cannibalizing Skywarp to repower the Ark's computer. I can't wait to see how horrifying that is for the Autobots when they get to issue 7. But it's just Starscream just being unnecessarily cruel. You know, like cruelty for the sake of cruelty. It definitely makes him the meanest Starscream I've ever seen. You know, for anyone hoping for like that IDW 1.0, like, well, yeah, he made a face turn and he's actually like showing a little bit of dignity and honor. No, that's gone. That's gone. New Starscream, who dis? Soundwave though is actually giving me a little bit of flavor from IDW 1.0. So we do see that he is very attached to his cassettes in this one. You know, toward the end of book 6, he's just kind of mourning with Ravage in his arms, like still waiting the chance to restore his friend. And he has there's a little bit of turmoil going on in Soundwave. because it's very clear he does not like what Starscream is doing or the decisions he's making. So that's definitely going to lead to something. That's going to lead to something quick. But it also means he's a little bit more reasonable than Starscream, and Optimus decides to be Skybound Optimus. We have mentioned before that this Optimus Prime feels like Optimus Prime, more so than just about any depiction we've seen in a long time. And he shows it again multiple times throughout these issues. In the first, like my favorite one being here, where he actually does try to reason with Soundwave. He doesn't want this to continue. So it's an Optimus who actually seeks a peaceful resolution. That's supposed to be Optimus Prime. Because if this was Bayverse Prime, he would have shot Soundwave in the back. Real heroic. But he does the same thing when they finally get a source of energy. They build a turbine, which is a great idea. And they want to repower and repair Optimus Prime first, but he insists on getting fallen members of their crew up instead, starting with RC. RC, who is pretty great so far, she is teasing a history with Ratchet, so we're kind of building a little bit of homage to Animated in that sense. And she's just like right into the thick of things as soon as she's on her feet. So she is very much action-packed RC. Great to see. Also, she gets the killer sports car mode, which is kind of awesome. But speaking of the battle scenes themselves, we do have a lot of them going on, because this is the climax of a 6-issue story arc. The fights themselves can be a little bit hard to follow, because the action is very extreme. It's hard sometimes to tell exactly how damaged certain Transformers are, unless you're Reflector. Reflector in these issues was kind of hysterical. He's only around for issue 5 because he is all about like time for a violence party. Like he's all about just getting in there and just like causing damage. He's just gunning for it, and as soon as he jumps into the battle, Prime just obliterates him with Megatron's fusion cannon. Reflector gets no respect. I gotta do a whole video just showing how disrespected the character is over the years, despite being in the '84 cast. But the fights themselves, like there's moments where it's like, okay, was Rumble or Frenzy taken out because they don't, or are they dead because they don't show for the rest of the issues? And then I go into like the preview of issue 7 and go, oh no, wait, Rumble's alive. So is Frenzy alive? I don't know. I don't know. This is. All I saw was just a lot of bots getting beaten up, a lot of really mangled and deformed bots. At one point in this issue, in these issues, Optimus Prime gets run over by Long Haul, and he literally bends. So, like, Prime in vehicle mode is literally curved from how heavy the impact was. So, like, the damage shown is extreme. Arms blown off, holes ripped through various Transformers. It leads to a lot of intensity in the fight scenes, and questionable durability amongst the Transformers in this universe. But it makes for exciting fights. If my only complaint being, I think a few too many characters don't make it out. I think there's already been a few too many deaths, and we'll see how they handle that. But one that did pop up, and you can see it in this shot, is the appearance of Devastator. This is the cliffhanger to issue 5 and the big fight of issue 6. I think it makes for a really good oh crap moment. It's Devastator. I do think that it is played way too soon, because the only way they have of beating Devastator in this is very Deus Ex. Devastator pretty much dominates everything in the battle until Prime gets his full recharge from the Matrix, at which time he handles Devastator solo. Okay, now to his credit, he uses some classic martial arts tactics of, use your opponent's energy against them in order to flip Devastator and smash him into Starscream, actually, which is fun. But It just feels like to do it now means you have to underplay Devastator's force in order to make him beatable. And it takes away, like, the Decepticons, like, the early Decepticons' biggest, oh, now it's serious kind of thing. And the Autobots, like, and it makes it more dramatic because the Autobots don't have any response for it now. There's no combiners, no Dinobots. It just feels like it's too soon. I would have held off Devastator a little bit here. The fight scene, I will admit, does have some hilarious moments. Like the sound effects in the back are hilarious. There's one part where Optimus is charging Devastator, and the splash text behind it through all these anime speed lines is, "You know the song." They literally want you to imagine the touch while this is playing. So, yeah, the Autobots... So, long story short, the Autobots re-secure the Ark. The Decepticons are sent running. I'm really curious how the Decepticons are going to regather themselves with no home base and no real knowledge of Earth, because they don't have any Earth allies. Meanwhile, the Autobots have the Ark and its computers. They know how to build a turbine now, which they'll have to build another one. The other one got blown up. It's definitely a great ending point for a 6-issue get to know the franchise kind of arc. And now issue 7, now we're entering the unknown territory. We don't know how long the next story arc is going to go or what direction it's going to go in. I'm very curious. There is one point to bring up that kept coming up in both books, and that is the Decepticons referring to the Autobots as evil. And this is not something a typical villain group would tend to do. Like, typically, like, you don't view yourselves as evil. You know, like, because everyone's a hero in their own story, you know? Like, so anytime a villain willingly calls themselves evil, they're insane, is what they are. But here, whatever's going on Cybertron has some kind of different flavor to it. Like, whatever the pre-war, like, whatever the pre-Earth setup was, there's something different happening. Because we have Decepticons who seem to consistently consider the Autobots and what they're doing evil. Which is not something, like, the Decepticons shouldn't refer to anyone as evil. So now I'm really curious what the past between these two are. You know, and what is the Decepticon cause in this particular universe? Is it mayhem? Is it just taking over? I don't think it is. Like, there seems to be something else to it, and I'm actually super curious about it. Before we go, a little bit of wrestling moves that we spotted in this one. Starscream locks in something called a crossface. Where, laying against the opponent's back, legs out to the side, and then wrenching back on their chin with both hands. You can even see the fingers are interlocked correctly for the hold. Bryan Danielson in AEW uses a variation of this where he traps the leg, where that's the label lock. It's a fairly popular move. Also, minor note: Optimus Prime does hit Devastator with a missile dropkick, which typically you need to come off the top rope for. But it's Optimus Prime, so we'll give it to him. But no, overall, 2 very solid issues. Really interested to see where it goes. There is a special issue coming out where apparently we're going to see Optimus and Megatron fighting it out. I'm really curious about that because that gets into some of the backstory that might kind of explain where the Decepticon direction is in this universe. And yeah, just... There's such good story beats set up here. It's when did the Decepticons get sick of what Starscream is doing and his direction as leader? When does Megatron show up? What happens when Spike comes back and finds out his father got sacrificed? Carly and Cliffjumper's relationship. They're telling good stories. I don't know if you've picked up on this. They're telling good stories. So, like I said, you're doing yourself a disfavor if you're not reading these books. Yeah, go support the fiction. Go support the fiction because they're doing really good fiction. And that's going to do it for this particular video. Thank you everyone for watching. I hope you're enjoying the comics because I certainly am. And as always, I will see you next time.